All right, thanks for joining us back on the show. And here we are. Victor is standing by to join me on the show so that we can start our discussion segment, taking a look at Nigerian macroeconomic environment as well as business climate, investment climate, business climate of Nigerian economy. So, Victor, a very good day to have you on the show, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get set for the discussion. First and foremost, last week we saw the CBN announcing the MPC MPR rate cut to 27% from 27.5%. I would like to have your take on it because I saw some of your reaction on the issue on your social media and other platforms that you have been talking about Nigerian economy. But let's have your reaction to this particular rate cut by the CBN.
Okay, well, thank you. I would say to me, for cutting the NPR to that rate by halving it, it's signal that CBN is trying to cautiously rebalance things. Inflation has been coming down for the 6th consecutive month now. A lot of people would have been expecting that CBN is going to just cut NPR like that, but with what they showed us that they are cautiously rebalancing things so that they can support growth without letting the inflation spiral. It's actually a delicate move on my side, but it will give banks and businesses breathing space for a while. At least that is something for them, while still keeping eye on price stability.
Very interesting. But for the CBN, according to Dr. Yemi Cardoso, he highlighted that the reason why they are coming with the rate cut is not just because of inflation and the rest of those parameters that many of us have shouted on them that they need to take a look at. But they said they are looking at balancing and pushing for economic growth. What do you have to say about that?
Can you come again, please?
For the CBN, according to Dr. Yemi Cardoso and his MPC, MPR members, what they are saying is that beyond just the parameter, the indicator that most of us push them to take a look at, for instance, the inflation, the GDP growth, and the rest of the above, for them, as a monetary authority, they are saying they are looking at balancing the entire economic parameter as well as pushing for growth in this regard. But what's your take on this statement from the CBN governor?
Well, to me, it is very, very. I used to tell something that some people might be an economist, but for those who are actually controlling their shares of things, for those who are actually piloting their shares of our economic landscape, they see better and they actually know better. To me, I feel they are saying in that statement, they are saying they are open to stimulating credit and investment, but they are still not letting go of discipline. It's actually growth with guardrails. So I wholeheartedly support that endeavor.
And you, Victor, you rightly mentioned about discipline. A lot of people have take a swipe on CBN for this harsh kind of discipline that they have been taking when it comes to monetary policy. But for you, how do you see that? Because many economists and business entrepreneurs will say the discipline nature of current CBN is too harsh on the economy. But for you, it's like you welcome it. But let's have your thoughts on that.
Well, I would not say it is too harsh. I will not say it is too harsh. Because we know where we are coming from. We know where we were coming from. We know how things have been when the CBN first started with their policy. When they first started with this policy, everybody was crying, everybody was shouting, everybody was, had a whole lot of things to say. But now it's time. I think for every economically minded person, we are seeing the results. We've been seeing the positive results in our macroeconomic variables. So to me, I believe that even though it is still harsh, but it is a needed harsh step to take so that we can get ourselves economically in the country.
Interesting. Now, you also made mention of the macroeconomic variables. One of the key macroeconomic variable of the Nigerian economy is inflation. And in recent time, just 2 weeks back, we saw an inflation that dropped to 20.12%. For you, Victor, looking at what has happened, the rebasing of the economy and others, what do you make of this dropping of the inflation going forward?
It is positive. To me, it is positive. 5 months of constant decline. It means the policy are actually beginning to bite. But then, inflation is still very high at 20%. So to me, I believe the focus should be in sustaining the trend, not celebrating too early.
But many will also want to agree with you to an extent on that sustaining the trend is a key. But others are also in the belief that this dropping is also significant in a way. But for you, how will you describe the significance of the dropping of the inflation?
Well, symbolically, to me, I feel it will boost investors' confidence. To boost their confidence, and it will guide market directions, not just in numbers. Practically, now we are seeing dropping in inflation on the book, and we are also seeing it in the market. So I think it will ease household and business pressure slightly. But the real win is if the inflation continues to drop into a single digit over time. That's just it.
All right. So let's now focus on the GDP. And the GDP, I would say, is one of those key aspects that will show that the economy is doing very well. And taking a swipe at what has happened in the first quarter and second quarter of 2025, we had a GDP of 3.13 in first quarter of 2025. We also had an additional increase of 4.23. Now, talking about Nigerian investment climate, these are the things that attract investors. But for you, Victor, how do you see this new GDP rate, 3.13 and 4.23 in the first and the second quarter of 2025?
It's a solid rebound, though. To me, it's a very solid rebound because it shows that growth is accelerating, not just holding steady. You know, there's a difference between growth being steady and growth going up. You understand? So to me, it's a very solid. It's a solid rebound. Service and oil recovery are leading also, which shows that diversifications are paying off. You know, through though. I will say that our manufacturing sector still needs attention because we have to produce more. So we have to produce more of what we consume and everything. But then it's a solid rebound. That's my take on it.
All right.
Big solid rebound.
All right. So, but let's take the sector and the subsector of this contribution to GDP one after the other. For instance, the oil sector had a big contribution of 20.56. But recall that in the first quarter of 2025, the oil sector contributed less than 20%. But here we have a 20.56 contribution from the oil sector. But what do you make of that contribution of the oil and gas sector?
Well, okay, you asked me about my contribution.
No, the oil sector contribution, 20.56 for the second quarter.
Yes. Well, it shows that we are still hugely depending on oil, which I feel when this regime comes into being its promised diversification. Yes, it shows that we are still largely depending on oil. But then it still also shows that we are also diversifying now. So to me, I believe that we can still do better. We can still do more to the extent that our dependence on oil sector to some reasonable extent will become very minimal at the long run. That's why I talk about we still need a whole lot of things to do about our manufacturing sector, so that we know that we are not only depending on this oil sector, our non-oil sectors is also contributing hugely to our GDP growth.
Now, let's take a dive into another sector that many of us have talked about, the ICT sector. The ICT sector, for instance, expands in real GDP with about 6.1%. And the contribution has been lauded by many economists who say the non-oil sector will still be an engine room for economic growth. Victor, what do you have to say about the ICT sector? In real terms, 6.1% going forward.
Well, ICT sector is actually one of Nigeria's strongest growth engines. Yes, it's our strong. It's one of our strongest growth engines, and the ICT growth shows that digital services are actually outpacing traditional sectors now, creating real economic value beyond telecoms. Because I think some days ago I had to do something at the CAC, and I was told that they are doing overhauling. Which one is overhauling? They said they are actually automating their systems, and I was very surprised and very happy about that. And okay, it seems our country is now focusing more on ICT rather than traditional and manual sector. So I think if a leading government agency can be adopting this, I think it's a step in the right direction, and it's showing that we are contributing, we are looking more into the ICT sector, because the whole world is going digital. We cannot stay traditional. Never. If we want to grow, we have to also grow digitally. So this is very, very good for me.
Now, in the ICT sector, one of the subsectors of the ICT is the telecommunication services, telecommunication and information services. Victor, are you still with me?
I'm with you.
All right. Now, talking about the ICT sector, the subsector of the ICT that is quite dominant is the telecommunication and information service. In the second quarter of 2025, it contributed 7.53%. And a lot of people are saying that it will even be more than that if not for the deficit infrastructure that we have suffered in that sector. I think beginning of this year, there was a challenge of payment and bills and loans and debt between the telecommunication provider and the financial sector. So people are saying, particularly economists are saying, they would have performed even better than that if not for the struggle and challenges they had in that sector. But for you, how do you describe this growth and the recent development and contribution of the ICT sector, particularly telecommunication, to our economy?
Well, I support the people that said that it should have been more than this, if not for the challenges that we have. Just like I said in the last previously, that we ought to have moved more than this. We ought to have moved more than this, because telecom remains the backbone. Data and mobile services are driving consumer and business activities. There are a whole lot of people that they don't have a physical shop. There's something they call drop shifting. They just put their goods and services on their WhatsApp status, Instagram page, and everything. They don't have a physical shop. They just go to their distributor or to their manufacturer or to their retailers and take pictures and good video of products and put it on their WhatsApp status or their Instagram account. And then people that when people signify interest, they message their distributors, okay, I have an order of so amount, and then they believe that it means that the entire business, the advertisement, the showcasing, the everything happens through telecom. So it is actually a backbone to our economy, and I believe that if we can sustain the growth much more than this, coupled with the fact that I heard from next year there will be 5% tax on telecom will be removed by the federal government. If that one can also come into play, it will help the sector a whole lot, and I think it will contribute majorly to our GDP growth.
Now, interesting. But for this sector we just talked about now, you see, having one issue. Investors, particularly foreign investors, are still bit, distracted because of certain issues that I know that you really understand, to help us understand why foreign investors are still shying away from our telecommunication service providing sector of the economy. Can you share a light with that for us?
Well, the first thing I will say is our inflation, the country rate of inflation, which is dropping to a reasonable extent. It's still very high at that percentage, but it's dropping relatively. You understand? But then another challenge I think is our FX instability, foreign exchange instability. Since it is foreign investor, they will have to use foreign FX. So, but then in for the past few months, even though the rate of dollar to naira is too high, but then we witness stability. The rate at which it reduces or decreases is still a stability, a stable phenomenon there. And then the third one, which I talk about, is about the tax that on the telecom. Now that even the federal government has been sought to remove the 5% tax here. Think, even though these challenges are there, but with the variables that we are seeing, the government are already addressing it. They're already addressing it. So I feel by next year, we should see significant increase in foreign investors investing in our telecommunication sector. And even local investors, as the people that are looking at the figures, that are looking at the numbers, are also reading this, they are reading the room, and they are seeing things as it is. So I feel by next year also, if all these things comes into play, inflation keeps dropping, the foreign exchange remains stable and still dropping at a steady rate, and also the tax are being removed, it will boost their confidence in investing in the telecommunication sector. Interesting.
Now, let's take a dive into the trade sector. The trade, particularly export trade and import trade, had a growth of 1.78% and contributing to the GDP 18.32%. And many people ask, the trade we are talking about importation of Nigerian economy. But what do you have to say about that particular contribution of the trade aspect of our economy contributing? Hello?
I lost you for a moment.
Okay. So are you with me now?
Yes, I'm with you now.
So what I'm asking is that on the trade aspect, import and exportation, it grew by 1.78% and it contributed 18.36% to the economy. But a lot of people are asking that for the trade, it's still unbalanced because we still import more than exporting more. But what do you have to say about the growth contribution, 18.36% to the GDP?
Well, to me, I think it is sluggish growth. It's a sluggish growth. And it shows that the consumer spending power is still heavily under pressure. The consumer spending power is still under pressure because if consumers have to spend, the trade sector will be growing more than this. But then, unlocking credit and reducing inflation will be key to reviving this sector. And with the fact that the CBN is reducing the NPL very soon, I'm sure very, very soon, we'll see a whole lot of creditors. And then with also the revitalization of banks are now with excess liquidity. By next year, I can assure, because banks don't want money to stay lying. They also want to make profit with their money. So I can assure that there will be credit next year, and then we'll see a steady increase in the trade sector growth.
Now, you made mention of the financial sector, which is the banking sector. We have seen a steady contribution of the financial sector to the Nigerian economy. Let's take, for instance, the recapitalization exercise of the banks. And for CBN, 14 banks have met the requirement. And they are saying at this point in time that it is good for the economy. But what do you have to say about the financial sector and their contribution to the Nigerian economy going forward?
Yes. I made mention of it briefly then. I talk about the fact that the capitalization has ensured that there is excess funds with banks now. A whole lot of banks, they have to sell their shares. A whole lot of them have to go to the money market, to raise these funds. So they have liquid with them. And, with NPL rates being increased, people shy away from loans. Some banks offer as high as 35-36% per annum, interest rates per annum. But with the fact that NPL is going down little by little, inflation is also going down little by little, they will want to give out the funds that they have. And by them giving out the funds that they have, I think that people are running away because of the high interest rate. They are going to crash their interest rate. They will crash their interest rate. So I believe that this will ensure that entrepreneurs have access to funds easily, and then they will be able to contribute more to the economic growth. So by banks reducing their interest rates and giving out credit with few encumbrances, that will contribute more to our economy. So that's the way of helping the economy.
Now let's now take a look at real estate and construction sector of the Nigerian economy, contributing about 4.61%. You know, estate are springing up in Abuja. We also have the Renew Hope estate being built by the federal government of Nigeria. Over 774 housing are, according to them, and more in their thousands. But what's your take on the real estate and construction sector contribution of 4.61 to the Nigerian economy?
Okay. If I'm looking at the numbers, to the layman, they will say it's small.
Exactly.
But then, to me, I believe that's quite. It's a quiet but important win. Yes. It's a quiet but important win. Housing demand remain resilient despite high costs. Despite the fact that you made mention of Abuja, the rents are so high. Some landlords, they offer you a self-contained as high as 1.52 million per annum. But then people are still taking it because you can't do housing is a basic need. Then it's one of the basic needs of life. So despite it being high, people are still taking it. But I believe affordable and mid-income housing will likely drive the next wave of growth. If people see an opportunity in this, if investors see that it's not everybody that can afford the luxury, they can look inward, and their materials and all sources locally. Not everything should be imported, which will also reduce the numbers, their cost of building, which can will ensure that there is availability of affordable and mid-income housing.
All right, that's quite interesting. Very interesting submission coming from Victor Oladipupo, a business analyst here in Abuja. And I would say Victor, very, very deep when it comes to the Nigerian stock market. I have some questions on the Nigerian stock market to really push out to him, but network will not allow us to get engaged with that. But having said and having analyzed the Nigerian macroeconomic environment, one of the key things that Victor is pushing for is that we should create an enabling environment that will be very, very attractive to foreign investors as well as local investors, particularly in the real estate, where it been mentioned that the low-income housing pattern will help to drive down the price of houses in Nigeria. And he also made mention of the financial recapitalization of the banks in Nigeria, which is very key. Even though CBN has said 14 of those banks have met its requirement. And kudos to those banks, I would say. And not to forget where he aligned that for the Nigerian inflation, it is still the high one, we still need a single-digit inflation. But one of the things that will attract investors down to Nigeria is a one-digit inflation. And talking about the Nigerian FS market, which he also said we need to work on Naira stability. And for the CBN, they are doing some good work around that area, but we still need to work on the stability of the Naira when it comes to appreciation with other foreign currencies. These are part and parcel of what Victor is pushing for when it comes to Nigerian macroeconomic environment and driving a friendly business climate investment opportunity for others, not just Nigerians, but people outside Nigerians. And also, you also made mention of issues around security and insecurity in Nigeria. No, I didn't make mention of the food inflation, but for him, if we be able to tackle insecurity in Nigeria, aspect of food inflation will definitely reduce. And going forward in that area, we also have a enabling environment that will allow for technology to drive, the ICT sector to drive, and other sectors of the economy to drive as expected. That's all coming from Victor, a business analyst based in Abuja, on his submission on Nigeria macroeconomy, environment, and investment climate. I would say we have come to the end of today's edition of the Market Report, having highlighted what has happened on the Nigerian stock market with a bullish outing that we're recording today. A bullish outing starting the week is a good luck for all other market days in the week. Although we have a public holiday coming on the 1st of October, when Nigeria will be celebrating its 65th year independence anniversary. So market will not be taking place at that day, but a day after, the market will resume, and tomorrow the market will also resume. But as been said and projected by analysts across the world, for crude oil For precious industrial metal like gold, like silver, like copper, they're expecting a new beginning for all these products in the fourth quarter of 2025. First quarter is starting on the 1st of October to 31st of December. So a lot of projection is pushing out. Even here on the show, Market Report, we'll be taking a dive into what we think will happen to Nigerian economy in the fourth quarter of the economy. In the first quarter, we recorded a 3.13% GDP growth. In the second quarter, we recorded a 4.23%. In the third quarter, that is rounding up, there are indications and data is already filling out that we are almost close to 4.5% economic growth, talking about the GDP in the third quarter. But fourth quarter, what should we be expecting? Analysts will be coming on the show to analyze, to project, to predict for us what the fourth quarter will be for Nigerian economy. And having said also, the federal government on their part is doing all necessary to ensure that the Nigerian economy remains stable. The oil and gas sector, the agri sector, the financial sector, the transportation sector, the aviation sector, all inclusive, the government is doing all it can to ensure that the Nigerian economy remains stable. And that's why just today, the federal government is fixing a meeting between Dangote Refinery and Pengassan, that is Petroleum and Energy Gas Workers of Nigeria, over some minor industrial relation that we hope will not surface into a national strike as threatened by Pengassan. Although many opinions are saying, Pengassan, this is not the time for you to frustrate a local investor in an oil and gas sector, and that is Dangote. And we're all saying also that let the government, let the two parties involved, let them sit on the round table and find solution to these wrangling industrial issues, because Nigerian economy cannot endure anything that has to do with industrial action or fuel scarcity going forward. My name is Adefola Alamekon. Till we come your way with another edition of the Market Report, I want to say, stay good, stay blessed, and be a patriotic Nigeria. See you around soon.